Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, 1991. Springwood, Ohio, 10 years later. The town is a ghost, every teenager dead or insane, except one amnesiac survivor who escapes, carrying Freddy's map on his back. Billed as the end, Freddy Krueger goes full cartoon villain, breaking the fourth wall and tormenting a new generation with gleeful abandon. Director Rachel Talalay unleashes pure early 90s excess. 3D dream sequences, Nintendo Power Glove kills, comic book panels, and grotesque deaths that lean hard into dark comedy. Robert Englund delivers his most flamboyant Freddy yet, charismatic, quip-heavy, and utterly unrestrained. Lisa Zane anchors the story as Maggie, Freddy's long-lost daughter, while surprise cameos from Roseanne, Tom Arnold, and even Johnny Depp add meta-winks. At last, the full origin unfolds. The dream demons that granted Freddy his power, and the family tie that might finally stop him. Critics called it a departure from the series' suspenseful roots, but Freddy's Dead thrives as shameless spectacle, a fittingly outrageous, self-aware send-off to the original Elm Street era. For better or worse, it gave fans one last wild nightmare before closing the boiler room door. Tremors 2, Aftershocks, 1996. Earl is recruited to hunt graboids at a Mexican oil field under siege. He brings Burt Gummer, the survivalist now running a show, and Grady, a young entrepreneur hoping for profit. The graboids have molted into shriekers, smaller bipedal creatures that hunt through infrared vision and reproduce rapidly. What begins as an extermination mission quickly becomes desperate survival as the shriekers multiply and turn hunters into the hunted. S.S. Wilson directs and expands on the original's premise. Fred Ward returns as Earl, now reluctantly embracing his graboid expertise, while Michael Gross steps up as Bert, whose survivalist skills and heavy arsenal make him ideal against the escalating threat. The oil field and surrounding desert offer new, isolated terrain for creative creature encounters, preserving the tension of the first film. The practical effects bring both graboids and shriekers to life through full-scale puppets and animatronics. Shrieker's infrared vision allows for inventive sequences where characters must avoid heat detection, while practical gore showcases the creature's feeding and attacks. Their rapid reproduction creates escalating danger, with multiple shriekers on screen at once. Aftershocks succeeds by combining likable characters, imaginative practical effects, and respect for the franchise's core, proving the series could thrive beyond theatrical setbacks. Critters 3, 1991. The Critters return, this time leaving the countryside behind for a rundown Los Angeles apartment building. When the small alien creatures arrive in the city and begin spreading through walls and ventilation shafts, the residents quickly find themselves trapped, facing an unusual and unpredictable threat. Among them is a young Leonardo DiCaprio, appearing in one of his earliest feature roles. Directed by Christine Peterson, the film shifts the series into a tighter urban environment. Hallways, stairwells, and cramped apartments become a maze where the creatures can appear from almost anywhere. Amy Brooks plays Annie, a tenant who takes the lead in trying to keep everyone safe while the infestation grows. The film explores how everyday spaces can turn into pressure cookers of suspense, as the residents discover that survival requires both cleverness and courage. Practical puppetry and animatronics remain central, bringing the critters to life as they roll, hide, and pop out in unexpected places. Despite budget constraints and a direct-to-video release, the effects retain the quirky energy that defined the earlier films. A curious artifact of the early 90s home video era, Critters 3 combines the urban twist, the returning alien menace, and an early glimpse of a future star in a unique entry to the franchise, offering both chaos and creativity for viewers discovering it today. Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, 1992. Trapped in an ornate pillar after Hell's defeat, Pinhead feeds on victims sacrificed by a sleazy nightclub owner. Freed without his human soul, he becomes pure evil, transforming patrons into new profession-based Cenobites and unleashing carnage on the streets of New York. Director Anthony Hickok shifts to mainstream spectacle. Strobe-lit clubs, industrial leather aesthetics, and music video flair. Doug Bradley excels in dual roles, unleashed Pinhead and his tormented World War I human self, Captain Spencer. Terry Farrell anchors the chaos as a determined reporter racing to restore Pinhead's humanity, while Paula Marshall adds tragic obsession. Practical effects deliver elaborate transformations and chain violence, though the new Cenobites, CD-shooting DJ, camera-headed videographer, fire-breathing bartender, draw criticism for camp over dread. The nightclub massacre ramps up the body count with spectacular, gory flair. Hell on Earth elevates Pinhead to solo star with more dialogue and screen time. Some embrace the expanded mythology and Bradley's performance, others miss the original's mysterious, transgressive edge. Bigger and bolder, it trades intimacy for urban mayhem, pushing the franchise toward mainstream horror while keeping the hooks sharp. If you're enjoying the video so far, take a second to like and subscribe, and let us know your favorite in the comments. Now, let's keep going. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, 1995. 6 years later, the secret behind Michael Myers' evil finally emerges. An ancient curse of Thorn, enforced by a shadowy cult that drives him to slaughter his bloodline for sacrificial power. Jamie Lloyd's baby becomes the next target. As Michael returns to Haddonfield, director Joe Chappelle weaves slasher suspense with supernatural conspiracy. Shadowed interiors, tense stalking, and practical effects delivering brutal, inventive kills. Donald Pleasance, in his final role, brings haunted gravitas to Dr. Loomis, while Paul Rudd debuts as the determined Tommy. A new family tied to the curse adds fresh vulnerability amid the mythic dread. Though convoluted and uneven, hampered by reshoots and competing cuts, The Curse of Michael Myers dares to expand the franchise into darker lore. It offers fans a conspiratorial, mythology-rich vision of the boogeyman, proving Myers could evolve beyond pure slasher into something almost primordial, flawed, but ambitiously chilling. Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker, 1991. By the fifth entry, the Silent Night, Deadly Night series had moved away from its earlier storyline. This installment tells a standalone story about a mysterious toy shop and a series of strange events that unfold during the holiday season. After a young boy witnesses a disturbing incident involving a delivered toy, he stops speaking, and his mother's attempts to rebuild their life lead her to a quiet toy maker. His mechanical creations are far from ordinary, and the boy gradually uncovers the hidden truth behind the workshop, including a lifelike mechanical figure that plays a central role in the unfolding mystery. Directed by Martin Kittrosser, the film leans on practical effects and mechanical props, filling the shop with puppets, wind-up toys, and elaborate gadgets that create a uniquely eerie atmosphere. Mickey Rooney stars as the toy maker, bringing presence and weight to the role, while Clint Howard portrays his mechanical assistant, whose movements add an uncanny quality that heightens the intrigue. Though it carries the Silent Night, Deadly Night title, the story stands on its own. Released during the early 90s home video boom, it became a memorable curiosity for viewers browsing rental shelves, notable for its inventive use of mechanical effects and its offbeat, slightly eerie holiday setting. Bride of Chucky, 1998. Hell hath no fury like a woman resurrected. 1 month after the last massacre, Chucky's ex-girlfriend Tiffany bribes a cop, steals his charred remains, and stitches him back together with a voodoo chant. Gratitude? Chucky kills her. Solution: trap her soul in a bride doll. Now the murderous couple is complete, and hitting the road for bodies, blood, and twisted honeymoon bliss. Director Ronnie Yu explodes the franchise into glorious self-aware chaos, turning slasher horror into wicked black comedy. Jennifer Tilly purrs and snarls as the deliciously unhinged Tiffany, trading barbs and bites with Brad Dourif's gleefully psychotic Chucky, their toxic romance stealing every scene. Runaway teens Jesse and Jade, Katherine Heigl and Nick Stabile, become unwilling chauffeurs, while John Ritter's suspicious police chief delivers pitch-perfect deadpan doom. Practical effects and puppetry reach outrageous new heights. Dolls driving vans, explosive nail bomb kills, over-the-top stabbings, and a honeymoon bloodbath that's equal parts grotesque and hilarious. Meta jokes fly, voodoo manuals, horror movie references, Chucky admiring Frankenstein's bride on TV. Rules, broken, stakes, skyrocketed. Bride of Chucky doesn't just revive the series, it reinvents it as a gleefully deranged horror comedy playground. Love hurts. With these two, it kills. Leprechaun 4, In Space, 1997. The Leprechaun ends up far from home, on a remote space station orbiting an unknown planet. He sets his sights on a princess, hoping to claim her royal wealth, but a squad of Marines intervenes. Chaos quickly follows. The Leprechaun is blown apart, yet his spirit refuses to die, returning in a grotesque way aboard the ship. Meanwhile, a shipboard scientist mutates into a spider-legged monstrosity, adding yet another layer of bizarre danger. Director Brian Trenchard Smith fully embraces absurdity, offering no explanation for the sci-fi setting and leaning into the ridiculous. Warwick Davis commits wholeheartedly, delivering rhyming threats while navigating laser battles and cyborg schemes. The human cast plays it straight, which only amplifies the comedy. Practical effects drive much of the film's memorable moments, from the Leprechaun's shocking regeneration to a giant growth ray-enhanced version of the creature and the many exaggerated melting or exploding deaths aboard the ship. Alien-inspired corridors, miniatures, and intentionally over-the-top set pieces give the film a uniquely low-budget charm. Leprechaun 4 abandons nearly all horror pretense in favor of shameless, campy spectacle. Aggressively silly and unapologetically outrageous, it became a cult favorite, celebrated for its audacious creativity, inventive practical effects, and pure chaotic fun, a wild ride for anyone discovering it today. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation, 1995. Prom night goes wrong for four teenagers when a car accident strands them in rural Texas. Seeking help at an isolated house, they encounter a new iteration of the Sawyer family, now led by a maniacal insurance agent and his cross-dressing accomplice. Leatherface has become subservient and confused, following orders from increasingly bizarre authority figures as the night descends into surreal horror with hints of shadowy organizations orchestrating the nightmare. Kim Henkel, co-writer of the original, directs a sequel that confounds viewers with its deconstructive ambitions. Matthew McConaughey is memorably over-the-top as Vilmer, the tow truck driver with a robotic leg, while Renee Zellweger plays the terrified final girl with limited material. Robert Jacks portrays Leatherface as a pathetic man-child, a far cry from the original menace. Practical effects are minimal, with subdued violence amplified by the film's mean-spirited tone. The conspiracy subplot and meta-elements confuse rather than intrigue, and the low-budget production shows throughout. Shelved for years before minimal release, The Next Generation represents the franchise at rock bottom, failing to find new direction and ultimately paving the way for the 2003 reboot that abandoned continuity for a fresh start. Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, 1993. The FBI finally gets smart. They lure Jason into a trap and blow him to Kingdom Come, pieces scattered across Crystal Lake. Mission accomplished. Or so they think. At the morgue, a coroner hypnotized by Jason's blackened heart takes a bite, and the killing starts again. Jason's demonic essence hops from body to body, melting faces, splitting chests, and leaving a trail of hosts behind. First-time director Adam Marcus throws out the rulebook, turning the slasher into supernatural body horror with mystical daggers, Voorhees bloodlines, and hellish demon lore that feels ripped from another franchise. Classic masked Jason barely appears. Instead, we get possessed locals warping into half-formed versions of him. Practical effects go gloriously over the top. Autopsies gone wrong, tentpole impalements, makeout sessions ending in crushed skulls. Some of the series' most extreme gore. Kane Hodder still lurks beneath the makeup when Jason finally manifests in full. Only a blood relative wielding the sacred dagger can end him forever. The climax delivers that showdown. Jason goes to hell, bewildered and angered audiences, abandoning everything that made the series work for a confusing, mythology-heavy misfire. It effectively buried the franchise for nearly a decade, proof that sometimes the boldest swing misses hardest. If you love discovering forgotten horror and cult cinema, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the films time forgot. Thanks for watching, and remember, always be kind and rewind, because every movie is someone's favorite.